too. It will all be here for you on Comics TV, Comics TV, Comics TV, fantasy and little me. What's it gonna be now? Alternative, mainstream too. Here every week for you on Comics TV, Comics TV, Comics TV.
Hi there, and welcome to Comics TV. We're your weekly guide to the comic book world. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Steve Przybyla. Each and every week we bring you the latest happenings in the comic book universe. So stay tuned for all this week's great features.
Here's Steve with the mainstream reviews.
This week, for my first mainstream review, I'm going with Storm Quest, number 3 from Calvert Press, $1.95, part of the Sky universe. Story is by Tom and Mary Burbaum, art is by Willie Peppers, and inks by Jerry Foley. Storm Quest team members are all separated and thrown into different universes to deal with different problems, and they try to figure out how they can get back together. The artwork in this one is well above average, definitely some best work I've seen in an independent in a long time. Being a color book, it's a good choice, good story, and I definitely has good potential. This one was 8 cents on the price index, which is a great price for an independent book. For my second mainstream review this week, I'm going with Looney Tunes number 12 from DC Comics at $1.50. A whole bunch of Warner Brothers write, draw, and ink this book. There are 2 stories in this book. The first story has Bugs Bunny and Daffy having a lot of problems with Roxy and Muggsy. Can Daffy save Bugsy? Read this and find out. The second story has Junior and Sparkle going on their first date, and Sylvester and Spike, which are dog and cat, don't know what to do or how to handle it. The art in this one is just like watching a Saturday afternoon cartoon. A definite must. This is 9 cents a page on a price index, which is about average for an average comic book. Batman, Elseworlds, Dark Joker, The Wild. A graphic novel from DC Comics at $9.95. Doug Monique is the writer, Kelly Jones is the artist, and John Betty is the anchor. This one is definitely an Elseworlds book because the characters are definitely different. The art in this one is not a typical Batman book. Joker is the evil ruler taking over the countryside by killing everyone and eating their brains for power. Batman is drawn as a man-bat, and after the Joker kills his parents, he is bent on revenge to kill the Joker. The artwork in this one is drawn on a gothic level and drawn very medieval. It's a great book, but definitely not for youngsters. This one is 13 cents a page. Pick it up at your local comic shop. And that's it for the mainstream review this week.
Topping this week's comics news, 5 years ago, Homage Studios was formed by Whilce Portacio, Scott Williams, and Jim Lee. In celebration of their 5th anniversary, Wildstorm Productions is launching a new crossover event called Wildstorm Rising that will run through its 9 regular titles for May and include 2 new titles. Barry Windsor Smith will provide covers for all 11 books, with James Robinson, Ron Mars, and Steve Siegel writing the stories. All the titles will be drawn by their regular artists. The 2 new titles will be Grifter and Team 7 Objective Hell, a 3-part miniseries. To make it even more collectible, there will be 2 collector's cards in each comic, one made for this crossover, and a random card from the new Wildstorm Gallery card set. But none of this will raise the price of the books, which is a welcome change. The $2.50 cover price will remain, and a $1.95 newsstand edition will be available without the cards. Jim Lee claims this is a good jumping on point, so look for it in May.
In May 1995, Brainstorm Comics will publish a collection of stories featuring the character Luxura, which first appeared in the first 3 issues of Vampirotica. In addition, there will be some top industry artists such as Buzz, Jim Palmiotti, Everett Hartsoe, and Jim Ballant. And in January, Brainstorm released a 3rd printing of Vampirotica #1, the first 2 being completely sold out everywhere. Kirk Lindo is the creator of Vampirotica and a publisher of Brainstorm Comics. This brings the total print of Vampirotica to 20,000 copies, the first printing of #1 selling for up to $15.
A few news bites from AC Comics. In September 1994, a printer's error caused a large part of the She-Cat #5 print run to be destroyed. What was left shipped on time, but orders were not all filled. AC has reprinted this book, adding a new cover and 8 new pages. Issue 5A, as it will be called, will be shipping in March '95 for $3.50. For fans of Vampirella She, they should like that book. Also shipping in March from AC Comics is Golden Age Greats Volume 3. It's 80 pages of black and white stories representing the comics of yesteryear. Included in this issue are Will Eisner, Lou Fine, Jerry Robinson, and Mort Meskin. It's $9.95 and includes stories such as The Flame, The Black Terror, Fighting Yank. These are classic stories from years ago. If you like the Golden Age stories, the Comic 1963 or DC Archives, you'll probably like this. Look for it in March.
Next is a preview of some of the upcoming art for 2 new comics from Acclaim: Magic: The Gathering, The Shadow Mage, and Ice Age: A Magic: The Gathering miniseries. In The Shadow Mage, a young Jared is rescued from a spectacular battle and then cared for by a lowly spell squire. The old man spends years preparing Jared to take on the vengeance of the immensely powerful planewalker who slew his father. And Ice Age is set during a time when glaciers and snow covered most of the Dominia, closely tied to the release of the Ice Age expansion deck for Magic: The Gathering.
This is the Independent Comic Book Review, where we bring you books from the smaller publishers, the independent publishers. My first book today is called Bloodchild: Portrait of a Surreal Killer, #1, from Millennium Comics. Faye Perosic is the writer and OJ Cariello does the art. The cost is $2.50. This is another of the popular vampire tales. Perosic is known for her work on Anne Rice's Vampire Lestat comics. Here, in her own creation, you have the vampire Child being tracked by FBI agent Turner. He's close, but Child hasn't killed in a while. Turner solicits help from a fortune teller and nearly bags Child, but once again, he just misses. This is a good book. There is emotion, love, despair, and more. The art is realistic with a lot of dark colors. I enjoyed this book. If you can find it, and if you like vampire tales, and I would recommend it, but for mature readers only. It's 14 cents on the price index, which makes it very, very high. So on that point, I would not recommend it. Next today is Visions, R.G. Taylor, issue #3 from Caliber Press. It's $5.95 by R.G. Taylor. Visions is a book Caliber puts out that contains a collection of artwork by one artist per issue. Taylor is from Mississauga, Ontario, right over the border from Buffalo. His previous work includes Sandman Mystery Theater, Wordsmith, and Silencers. He can draw excellent figures, and especially female figures, but there are very good drawings of Star Trek characters and others, including Humphrey Bogart. There's great stuff if you're looking for art techniques and style to compare to. This is a kind of book to look for. There's a ton of pages. I believe there's like 80 pages. It's 6 cents on the price index. My next book is great. It's fantastic. Warrior Nun Ariella, #1 from Antarctic Press. It's $2.95. Ben Dunn is the artist and the writer. Take a look at the front or the back cover. The art is fantastic. It's great colors. I've been waiting for this book ever since I saw the first pictures of the front cover there. This book is fantastic. The story is about an order of nuns that are trained as warriors in order to protect the world from the evils of hell. But there hasn't been much demon trouble in recent years, so the Vatican is scaling back on the warrior nuns. The art is absolutely great. It's fantastic. It's detailed. Motorcycles are beautiful. Vivid colors and a nice twist on the good versus evil type story. I recommend this one 1,000%. Unbelievable 11 cents on the price index. If the art and story keep up, this will be a very good seller in 1995 for Antarctic Press. All right, it's time for our weekly segment, Interview Time. Hey. This week we have Ron Hopp from Pucca Comics up in Ontario, Canada. And Ron met with Steve a while back, and he's going to talk about Pucca Comics and comics in general, what's going on with his company. We've reviewed a few of their books, and you'll see some of the clips in here. They got some good stuff, so take a look.
How did you get your start in comics?
Well, basically I got my start by making my own start, actually. Basically one day I was working with a friend of mine. He was actually putting a comic book together called, what was that book called? I know what it is. Max Burger P.I. Him and I were working together for a while. And basically after that, some deals fell through. And I basically started off my own publishing company after that.
What type of comic-related training did you have?
High school. High school is the only comic book training I got.
Self-explanatory.
Exactly. Like such as I had a graphic arts course that I took. It's actually the best graphic artist in the whole school. Thank you. And then I had my art course on top of that. Plus also I love literature and I love mathematics and everything else. So basically combine all into one, and there you are.
Now all your classmates are going to hunt you down. Hey,
I want comic books.
Who are your biggest influences in the comic book industry?
My biggest influences right now is Jim Shooter. He's a big influence because the man had two publishing companies, very successful companies at that. He's still working, which is even more impressive. Working in Marvel comic books for so many years, I just can't remember. Broke in the industry for when he was 13 years old for DC. And you know, that takes a lot of inspiration.
Do you read comics?
I read comics.
What's your favorite?
My favorite comic book is this one right here. But right now, I gotta be honest with you. I like, what is it? Paradise? Strangers in Paradise?
Strangers in Paradise.
Strangers in Paradise. I like Marvels. That's an excellent comic. I also like a comic book called G.I., which is also another good comic book. And basically, that's all Battle Angel Alita. I love all those comics.
What makes your style different than other creators?
My style is different because I like to be diverse, such as I don't like to stick in one particular genre. I like to different other genres, such as cyberpunk, vampires, manga, fantasy story, you know, the whole schlock.
Yeah.
So I think that's what separates me from the rest of the boys out there.
What are your future plans in and out of the industry?
My future plans is to be really, really rich someday, if I'm very, very lucky. Basically, TV, movies, toys, the whole ball of wax. That's pretty much about it.
Can someone earn a decent living doing comic books?
Yes, they can. It takes a lot of persistence, a lot of time, a lot of forth effort, a lot of denial, and everything else like that. But once you're there, you're there.
What do you tell people trying to break into the industry?
Practice. Keep trying. Don't stop. Basically, just keep plugging at it. Because if you keep plugging at it, one day you're going to get in, and sooner or later, you'll have your own stuff going.
What did you do before you broke into the comic book industry?
I sat home on my butt. Basically, I just read a lot of comic books, and my friends and I one day were grumping about, oh, comic books are so expensive, there's so much crap, blah, 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 blah. So I said, fine, I'm going to do something about it, and I went out and I did.
Is there any series you like working on better than the other?
Yeah, there is. There's always my stuff, because, like as an example with Xanax right here, just because it's basically, you know, it's a book that took a lot of time to put together. Also, basically, you got your own creative owned stuff. You know, there's a small bias in there, but you know, like pretty much everything in general.
Do you think it's tougher or easier to break into the industry now or earlier, like 10 years ago?
Let's see. We got apples and we got oranges and bananas, and then we got a brick. Basically, yeah, it's a lot easier to break into business back then, such as the most successful businessman on the face of the planet, Dave Sim. He basically broke into the industry and there was nothing there.
Well, why is it easier now?
It's actually, it's more difficult now.
It's more difficult.
It's more difficult because you're dealing with everybody. Before, as an example, when Diamond came out, there was only a small booklet, possibly the same size as this, displaying what was coming out this month. Now you have yourself a book that's 2 inches thick every month on the month. And if you don't do comic book shows, talk to people, do TV interviews, no one's even going to hear it. So that's the reason why I think it's more difficult now.
What has been your greatest accomplishment of all time in comics?
This is my biggest accomplishment of all time. This is bigger than my high school diploma. This is more than getting my driver's license. This is more than my first date I ever had at the age of 13. But this is my biggest accomplishment. This book took me 4 years to produce.
Wow.
And I stuck with it. I stuck through the hardships. I stuck with, I stuck with the crap. I stuck with this. I stuck with that. Yakety schmackety.
You're stuck, huh?
Exactly. And basically, you know, I just stuck with it. And that's the reason why this is my biggest accomplishment.
It's a good point to let people know not to give up easy.
Exactly. Also, one thing, as you can tell with my little booth, you know, I'm very persistent.
Persistent. I'm annoying. He's persistent. Do you believe there's racism or sexism in the comic book industry?
If you would ask me that 5 years ago, I would say yes. Today's books, I'd have to say no. Just because there's more writers out there, new writers that are dipping into different genres, such as Strangers in Paradise, as an example. Completely female-oriented book. The two main characters are female. Also, you have the DC line and everything else like that, which is basically dealing with the black superhero. For me personally, I don't like being racist, and also I don't like being politically correct, just because I think it sucks. Like as an example, Xanax. There's a female heroine. The first male you meet is a competence guy who's a lab guy. Then you got your big stereotypical superhero. Then we have the black superhero, or you know, the African American superhero, the way we want to put it, who's Stonewall. Basically, he has some problems of his own. Then we have a Oriental character. You know, we just build it all the way up. And the reason why I picked these characters is because I wanted these characters, and it works in the storyline, and it works. Like as an example, when DC came out with, what was that comic book line that DC came out with?
The 0 Hour?
No. It seemed like nothing but black superheroes.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, what was the name of that?
Yeah, but you people at home know exactly what I'm talking about. But
with Icon and Static.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hardcore, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I'm
They
talking
were all
about.
the...
Yeah, you see, for me, that's just too politically correct because they were just black. That's all that was in there. You did not find one white superhero.
That was their retaliation to the years and years of...
Yeah, but still, it's just like, you know, I like to find a balance between the stuff I do and the stuff out there. If there's too much of it, people are going to know. If there's too less, you know, they're going to show. So I like to keep a nice, healthy balance.
Okay.
Next, I have a whole bunch of quick reviews. First, I've got Oatmeal from Blind Bat Press. There's nice art in this one. It's a pretty good space-type story, 48 pages for only $2.95. Now, I have got Girl Hero number 3 from Megan Kelso. The main story is called Bottle Cap. It's a weird alternative type girl story. Not bad. The art is okay. It's violent. It's adult story. No, it's all right. Next, I have Hands Off, a collection of 35 artists with proceeds used to fight discrimination and homophobia. All kinds of alternative and small press people. It's okay. Then I've got First Amendment Publishing presents the Kurt Cobain story, abstract art, story told by a bunch of cartoon friends. It's pretty good though. My next book is The Realm, number 8 from Caliber Press. It's a tale of kings and castles. It's not a bad book though. Next is Seth Throb, Underground Artist by Andy Garcia. It's #1 from Slave Labor Graphics. I liked the story, the art wasn't bad. And I've got Night Watchman #1. It's kind of a takeoff from the Big Bang series that Caliber has. Nice concept, good art. It's a rather typical kind of storyline. It almost reminds you of Batman, but it's a pretty good superhero story with good art. And the last one is Go-Go Boy. This is from Mermaid Publications. Go-Go Boy is a gay superhero. He will fight crime for all people, not just gays. The art is pretty good. The major problem in this book is the lettering. It's terrible lettering. It's done by the artist and creator, and I would recommend that he changes that. Other than that, not bad. And that's it for all the independent books this week.
Tell you something, Clay. What is it, Morgan? I'm better than you. I've always been better. I can beat you, Clay. Now you hit it. And you better hit it fast. I won, Clay. I won.
Okay, this is that favorite part of the show that everybody seems to like.
Do a review each and every week. Me and Michael take a comic book. We both review it, and we let you know what we think about it.
Today's book is called Monkey Stew. It's #1 from Art of the Cellar Comics, $2.75. The creators claim ode to the old EC comics. Tales from the Crypt, House of Suspense type things. This seems to fit in with their thoughts pretty well.
Yeah, just like the same style as the old books where they'd have like the Crypt Keeper or the guy that would announce which story was coming up and then give you a little comment at the end. Sort of like Tales from the Crypt on TV.
Right. In fact, the guy looks somewhat like the Crypt Keeper.
Very similar.
It's not a bad book. The art is pretty good.
The stories in there, there was one story in there called A Color, A Crime to Die For, about a kid that goes to a comic book convention like me and Mike attend,
right.
And he's trying to pick up a book by the name of Blood Feast, and there's only 3 of them printed, and one kid had both copies of them trying to buy the third copy, and another kid's trying to buy it. Well, this kid decides he's going to come back and rob it from him. It turns out the creature that's in Blood Feast is the same creature that's buying the books. It's a pretty good story. There's some pretty good stories in here. The artwork's pretty good too.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad. Overall, the stories were not quite the caliber of the old ECs, any of those type books. It's a step or two down, a couple steps down. It's a good story, though.
It's a good starter book for them.
They're good. There's a total of about 6 stories, and they're not bad. You know, they're pretty good. And for a first shot here, it's definitely a good book, and I think the next couple will hopefully get better.
Yeah, I hope they sort of clean up some of their stuff and try and go out on their own, because so many of these stories are like you're actually reading out of the old ones. So
yeah, it does. Before I even read at the end of the book, it tells it just a little background information. And before I got there, I'm like reading this and said, "This is just like Tales from the Crypt or something."
Vault of Horror,
yeah.
House of Suspense,
right, all of those.
But all in all, it wasn't a bad book at all. You know, we haven't seen any of those books around for a long time, so this is something.
It's
picking up.
Not a definitely recommended, but
no,
it's one I'd recommend if you like this type. If you like
read it in the store.
If you like this kind, but read it in the store.
Yeah, read it in the store.
And as long as they don't kick you out, read it.
Yeah.
And as we always say, if you can't find a book, like one of the small press or independent publishers, if you can't find it in your store and they won't order it, get a hold of us here at COMX-TV and we will get you in touch with the people.
Yes.
And that's it for the dual reveal this week. You monkey boy.
No, Monkey Stew.
Okay. Where's that little guy? He threw him on the floor.
My little guy. Violator.
Violator here. He goes along with the other Spawn characters we've got. He's Steve's though.
He's bigger.
We've got a couple things that we want to mention real quick before we end. The COMX-TV 1994 awards are in progress. You go down to your local comic book shop, pick up an award, entry form, yes. Fill it out. Right there is a lot better. Fill it out. Leave it there. Or you can mail it into Comics TV by March
4th.
March 4th. And we will tabulate all of the votes and present an award ceremony.
Yes. Or if you cannot get it to us by March 4th, coming up March 12th at the Marriott
Sunday,
on Millersport. It's Sunday, March 12th. We are going to be at our second Comics TV comic show. We will be there. This is a comic book and card show only. No sports cards, no nothing, all comic book paraphernalia. Some of the guests there will be Ken Lashley, who does Excalibur, and a couple other X Factors. John Hebert, X-Men Adventures and The Punisher. Eddie Newell, Black Lightning, and Rick Arthur, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, there's also going to be about 15 independent tables with all independent artists, everybody you want to meet. The admission price is $2. All benefits go to Hospice. Free autographs. There's going to be all different. Hospice. Sorry. Every time I say that, I screw that up. It's Hospice, not Hospice. There's also going to be
a little on your steak.
Put a little spice on the steak. There's also going to be something called a Warhammer 40,000. It's going to be a role-playing board game. They're going to have a couple tables set up there and people playing, trying to get people interested in it. So it sounds pretty neat. Admission is $2, and like I said, all benefits go to Hospice.
There's going to be, like I said, there's going to be quite a few independents there.
Yeah.
A bunch of them up from Toronto
Big
area.
show.
So
it was also advertised in this month's Wizard magazine, and also they have slingers out, which I've been trying to distribute, sort of like this. They look just like that.
10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes.
That day, March 12th.
And,
so look for us there. We're going to have a Comics TV table. We'll be there.
Giving away all kinds of free stuff.
If you really want autographs, we'll sign autographs.
Yeah. And two, if you didn't get to the comic shop and pick up one of our slingers for our thing,
That day,
we will have a pile of them there, and hey, stop by, fill one out, and who knows, you can win lots of neat stuff.
And that's it for Comics TV this week. We're glad you watched.
Yes. And like we say every week, when you stop into the comic store to pick up that special comics that we reviewed this week, tell them you've seen it on Comics TV. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That is all now.